Go ahead, Chair.
Meeting will come to order. Aloha mai kako. Good morning. My name is Peter Apo, Vice Chair of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. I'd like to call to order the April 6, 2023 public hearing of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. The time is now
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Thank you, Vice Chair. In accordance with section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, the Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's public hearing both virtually on Zoom and in person. The Zoom link details were included in the public hearing notice. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom or at the physical meeting site at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. This hearing is also being live streamed on HCDA's YouTube page. The HCDA communication staff is hosting the Zoom portion of this hearing. Once this public hearing begins, everyone will be muted for clearer audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves to speak. It is important that all individuals clearly state their name each time prior to speaking. This is a public, in-person, and virtual public hearing, so to prevent any distractions, if you are attending virtually and you are not a board member, staff member, or HCDA's Attorney General, please turn off your video during the meeting. If you are providing verbal public testimony, your name will be called accordingly. If you're attending in person, when your name is called, please come to the front of the room. And if you're attending virtually, please turn your video on only while providing your testimony. In either case, please clearly state your name, affiliation, and proceed with your testimony. In accordance with section 92-3.7C, Hawaii Revised Statute, if the authority's connection for the remote meeting is lost, the hearing will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the hearing will be reconvened tomorrow at 9 a.m. at the same physical location and virtual Zoom link as today's hearing. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Let the record reflect that the following kakako members are present. Chair Ishii is excused. Vice Chair is here. Member Higa.
Here.
Miranda Johnson is excused. Member Nasser.
Here.
Member Hirai.
Not yet.
Member Alice Evans.
Here.
And member Sakota.
Here.
Thank you.
Vice Chair, we have quorum.
We do have the quorum. Individuals from the public who have requested to provide verbal public testimony on a specific agenda item are on standby and will be permitted to provide testimony respectively. Would counsel for the applicant make your appearance at this time?
Good morning, Vice Chair, Uphold, members of the authority, Executive Director Nakamoto and HCDA staff. Good morning. Brian Kang and Summer Kayabe appearing on behalf of applicant Victoria Ward.
Morning. Thank you. Good morning. Legal basis and purpose. Today's hearing on development permit number KAK 23-001 is being held in accordance with Hawaii Revised Statute Section 206E5, period 6. Subchapter 3 of Hawaii Administrative Rules, Chapter 219 of Title 15, and the vested Kaka'aka Mauka Area Rules, HAR Chapter 15-22. The nature of today's public hearing is to allow the applicant to present the proposed modification request as provided in 15-22-120 of the vested rules regarding the podium height and view corridor setback, and to provide the general public with the opportunity to present oral and or written testimony. Victoria Ward Limited is the applicant for the proposed project. Development permit number KAK 23-001. Application, the Launiu Ward Village Land Block 5 Project 3. Tax map T TMK parens 1 close parens 2-1-056001. Project location 928 Ala Moana Boulevard, Honolulu, Hawaii 96814. The modification requested is the applicant is also requesting the following three modifications from the applicable vested Mauka area rules, HAR chapter 1522. One, modification of the height of the parking and mixed-use podium from 45 feet to 65 feet. And A, an additional 12 feet for accessory use structures having a total area less than 15% of the parking and mixed-use podium roof area. And B, an additional 18 feet for structures that will house elevator machinery on the parking and mixed-use podium roof. Two, modification of the view corridor setback on Ala Moana Boulevard for approximately 94% of the Ala Moana frontage. And three, modification of the view corridor setback on Ward Avenue. The podium will occupy the entirety of the Ward Avenue frontage. Application date is February 21, 2023. Legal notice, a public hearing notice was published in the Honolulu Star Advertiser, Maui News, the Garden Isle, Hawaii Tribune Herald, and West Hawaii today on Wednesday, March 1, 2023. Procedures for the hearings. This is a hearing to consider the modification request by the applicant. Let me briefly explain our procedures for today's public hearing. The HCDA staff will first present its report summarizing the amendments requested in the development permit application. Following that presentation, we will receive the presentation of the applicant and then testimony from the public. Only members of the authority and the executive director will be permitted to ask questions of the staff, applicant, or individuals providing testimony. Are there any questions to our procedures? I'm sorry. Oh, God, yes, so acknowledging that member Craig is here. Thank you. Good morning. Morning. Staff report, HCDA, Kakako Planning and Development Project, Ryan Tam will now present the staff's report.
Okay, good morning, members.
Good morning.
Vice Chair Pope. The staff report is in your packet and was uploaded for public review. I did, however, want to summarize and highlight a few items from the staff report. And again, I am paraphrasing. First of all, the statutory authority for this, section 15-22-127 does allow for podium modifications when subsurface construction is infeasible. Ceiling height clearances require height adjustments. Industrial, commercial, residential, or community service uses are substantially located within the platform. And when significant public facilities or pedestrian features are at street level. Section 15-22-22 does require that applicants demonstrate that the modification would provide flexibility and result in a development that is practically and aesthetically superior. That it would not adversely affect adjacent developments or uses, and that it is consistent with the intent of the Mauka area plan. And again, the authority shall specify the particular evidence which supports the granting of a modification and may oppose reasonable conditions.
Members, any?
Sorry,
yeah.
continuing. I would like to look at image 3 from page 3 of the staff report to illustrate the requested modifications, and I'll go ahead and share this. So this is an elevation view looking, and this is also exhibit 18 on page 79 of the application. So this is an elevation view looking along Ala Moana Boulevard towards Diamond Head. So this is at the Eva corner, Eva Makai corner of the development. The vertical red line you can see here is the right-of-way line. The dashed blue line, this is the view corridor setback that we'll be talking about. The horizontal part of the dashed blue line, this is the 45-foot level. So this is the maximum building height podium, which is allowed under the Malco area rules. The dashed black line is a 65-foot level, and this is the requested podium height. The building features above the 65-foot level. This is the ancillary features, and section 15-22-62C does allow some features, building features to be exempt from building heights, such as utilitarian features like stairwells up to 12 feet and ventilation pipes and machinery up to 18 feet. The red cloud generally highlights the portion of the building podium that is for which the modification is needed. So again, it's everything from here, basically to the right of the dashed blue line. Okay, I'll stop sharing now. Again, regarding the request, the applicant's premise for the modification, I'm sure they'll talk about this later, is to allow for retail, restaurants, office, and residential units to be built within the podium and to move parking structures up and away from the street. The applicant did state that these modifications have been sought to preserve and enhance the Malcolm Mackay view corridors to permit various uses within the podium along streets and public spaces, to provide public facilities and features to improve the pedestrian experience at the street level, and to prevent subsurface excavation activities associated with underground parking structures. Lastly, the basis for the modifications, again, the ward master plan is vested under the 2005 Malco area rules that were in effect when the plan was approved in January 2009, and the subsequent pro-tunc revision in May 2009. The ward master plan did describe the intent to modify the platform height along Alamoana Boulevard from 45 to 65 feet and other streets from 45 to 75 feet. Section 15-22-116 of the vested rules does allow towers up to 400 feet tall and a platform of 45 feet. As we mentioned, there are sections of the vested rules that do provide for the modifications, and the Launiu's platform height request is in line with the requested, what was requested on the ward master plan and explained above. Lastly, the amenities that they are providing, significant public amenities, include the plaza, retail activation, and facade on Ward Avenue. Subject to your questions, that concludes summary of the staff report.
Thank you for the report. Members, any questions on the staff report?
Member Higa here with a question for Ryan. Ryan, again, glad to have you at HCDA. Since the 2012 rules, what sort of changes have occurred? So assuming that this project were generated under the rules in effect today, what would the podium height guidelines be?
I'd have to check that.
Yeah, remember, you go, let me check that for you, get back to you.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions, members? If not, introduction of the parties and receipt of additional exhibits to the record. Will counsel for the applicant please make your appearance and introduce your party?
Good morning again, Vice Chair Paul, Brian Kang, and Summer Kayave appearing on behalf of Victoria Ward Limited.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Introduce your party.
Yes. Vice Chair Paul, would you like me to introduce our first witness? Or?
Yes.
Did you have any additional exhibits?
Oh, yeah. Any additional exhibits to admit?
Victoria Ward has no further exhibits to request to admit at this time.
There are no exhibits to admit, which we just went through. The authority acknowledges there are no additional exhibits offered by the applicant, and we will proceed with the hearing. We'll proceed with the presentation. You may call your first witness.
Thank you. Victoria Ward calls Kailani Sodaro as its first witness.
Good morning, Kailani
morning.
Sodaro for the record. Thank you for having us.
And then,
Yes.
just for the record, she was sworn in yesterday,
Yesterday.
so dispense with the
Okay.
swearing in. Is that okay?
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Mr. Dara, again, can you please state your name, your position, and your place of employment? for the record?
Launiu Modification, Senior Vice President of Development and Planning for Ward Village, Howard Hughes.
Please briefly describe the requested modifications for the Launiu that we'll be talking about today.
Sure thing. The nature of the modifications are first to increase the Launiu platform height from 45 feet to 65 feet. And then to accommodate a continuous building facade on the platform above 20 feet instead of the 1-to-1 setback along the Ala Moana Boulevard and Ward Avenue corridor setbacks. Modifications are described and contemplated by the Ward Master Plan and previously considered by HCDA in approving the master plan and are also consistent and in alignment with other approvals in Ward Village and Kakako.
What are the public benefits from the requested modification?
The modifications are essential to effectuating HCDA's vision and in implementing the mixed-use live, work, and play vision of the Ward Master Plan and the Malka Area Plan. Modifications to the platform allow additional volume and allow the bulk of the parking structure to be pulled up and away from the street, therefore facilitating the vertical mixing of uses throughout the Launiu, including residential units in the podium consisting of studio and one-bedroom units to increase buyer options and diversity. Also to allow for nearly 22,000 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor and of the platform, and the 16,000 square feet of new publicly accessible green space in and near the Launiu. This slide here is a helpful illustration of how the modifications facilitate the transfer of volume within the platform to incorporate commercial uses and increase publicly accessible spaces at the ground level. This is also exhibit 22 of the application. The left illustration of the exhibit depicts the Launiu without the modifications and as permitted by right under the vested rules. The middle illustration shows the massing based on commitments in the Ward Master Plan. And the right illustration shows the Launiu's proposed design with the modifications. The modifications permit the additional residential and commercial space within the podium, as well as the dramatically increased green space at the ground level. Another benefit of increasing the volume within the platform is that this avoids the need for subsurface excavation associated with underground parking structures in an area with known subsurface sensitivities, including the proximity to the water table. The other modification is to eliminate the 1-to-1 setback on the podium along Ala Moana Boulevard and Ward Avenue. This creates a continuous platform facade that permits a much stronger definition of the streetscape along Ala Moana Boulevard and Ward Avenue. This modification specifically was also proposed in the Ward Master Plan and is consistent with other developments in Ward Village and within Kaka'ako and permits much more flexibility in the design of the platform. Exhibits 24 through 27 of the application illustrate those benefits of both modifications, which facilitate pedestrian activation and a much more varied and interesting streetscape at this really important gateway of Ward Village. As we scroll through exhibits 25 and 26 and 27 here, it's also important to note that Victoria Ward Limited is not requesting any modifications of the 75-foot tower setback required on the view corridor streets. The Launiu will comply with both the tower setback and the 15-foot front yard setback required by the vested rules. The tower and yard setbacks, along with the Malka orientation of the long side of the building tower, will maintain the expansive view corridor along Ward Avenue as the Malka Area Plan and the Ward Master Plan both envision.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sodaro. Vice Chair Poe, Victoria Ward has no further questions for Ms. Sodaro at this time. Her written testimony is marked as exhibit 5 for the record, and Ms. Odar is available for any questions.
All right, members, or executive director, do you have any questions for the witness? If no questions, we're going to proceed to public testimony.
Call the next witness.
Oh, next witness. Yeah, do you have any further witnesses?
Yes,
Sorry.
we do. Yes, we do, Vice Chair. Victoria Ward's next witness is Tom Schnell.
And for the record,
You want
yes,
to members, Chair?
for the record, you're still sworn in from yesterday. Yeah.
Mr. Schnell, for the record, can you please restate your name, place of employment and position, please?
My name is Tom Schnell. I'm a principal with PBR Hawaii, Planning Permit Hawaii.
Good morning. We've heard about the requested modifications for the Launiu. Please tell us more in detail how these modifications were discussed and considered by HCDA in approving the ward master plan.
Sure, I'll touch upon that. I'll provide more detail. Actually, Ryan and Kailani also mentioned this in their testimony and the staff report, but
It looks like Wi-Fi issues again.
in an order approving the ward master plan, HCDA noted increasing the podium height allows for retail, restaurants, office, and residential units to be built within the podium. And the additional podium height offers the opportunity to move a parking structure up and away from the street, occupying a smaller floor plate and making room for alternative uses, which uses can then surround the garages. And then similarly, in finding of fact number 104, HCDA determined that eliminating the 1-to-1 setback above 20 feet along Ward Avenue and the other view corridor streets would allow more continuous urban street front with greater visible building density brought closer to the ground level and a facade that would better define the edge of the street. Accordingly, both of the modifications proposed for the Launiu were originally described and proposed as an integral part of the ward master plan and considered by HCDA. What is also important is that HCDA further determined that the plan modifications to the podium height and the view corridor setback would satisfy the standard for granting modification under HAR section 18-22-22. And this is set forth in the findings of fact number 106 of the decision order approving the ward master plan, which provides that both modifications A, will result in a development that is consistent with the intent of the Malka area rules and plan. B, will provide flexibility for different uses and various design strategies noted in the master plan, including concealing parking structures and pedestrian friendly facades, and will result in a development that is practically and aesthetically superior to one which could be achieved or accomplished without such modifications. And then C, will not adversely affect adjacent developments or uses, and D, are necessary to implement the mixed use, live, work, play neighborhood vision of the ward master plan and the Malka area plan.
Thank you, Mr. Schnell. In your professional opinion, are the requested modifications for the Launiu consistent with the ward master plan, HCDA's prior consideration of the modifications, and the vested rules?
Yes, specifically with respect to the Launiu, an increase in platform height up to 65 feet and permitting the use of space within the view corridor setback provides greater volume within the platform to move the parking up and away from the street and results in substantial flexibility for inclusion of street level commercial space, homes within the podium, and facilitates more landscaped and publicly accessible space in and around the Launiu. In addition, the view corridor setback for the Launiu will also create a continuous platform facade that better defines the edge of the platform along Ala Moana Boulevard and Ward Avenue and will provide substantially more flexibility in providing interesting and aesthetically superior platform design as depicted in the application. These benefits substantially enhance the aesthetics of the walkable, active neighborhood contemplated both by the Melca Area Plan and the Ward Master Plan. As noted in my written testimony, these modifications meet all of the criteria of HAR section 15-22-120, which expressly contemplates requests to increase platform heights, and HAR 15-22-120 subsection 1, which expressly provides that modifications may be granted for view corridor setbacks.
Mr. Chair, let me just step back a little bit. You mentioned HR 1522-120. Those are from the 2005 Malca area rules. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you mentioned that you've been involved, you mentioned yesterday you've been involved in a number of Ward Village projects through the years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And is it your understanding that the 2005 Malca area rules apply to all Ward Village projects?
Yes, they do.
And that is because when the Ward Master Plan was approved, the 2005 Malca area rules were in effect at that time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And therefore, the 2005 Malca area rules are vested for all Ward Village projects.
Correct.
Thank you. In your professional opinion, do these modifications that we're talking about today for the Launiu adversely affect adjacent developments or uses?
No, as proposed, the modifications are fully consistent with other developments in the Ward Village and will not adversely affect adjacent developments or uses. Given the importance of maintaining the tower orientation and yard setbacks to preserve established view corridors along Ward Avenue and Ala Moana Boulevard, the orientation of the Launiu's tower will maintain these established view corridors as contemplated by both the Malca Area Plan and the Ward Master Plan, and will not affect adjacent developments and uses.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Schnell. Vice Chair Paul Victoria Ward has no further questions for Mr. Schnell at this time. For the record, his written testimony for the modification hearing is marked as Exhibit 7, and he is available for any questions.
Yeah, members, Executive Director, any questions for the witness?
It's Kevin Sakota. I have a question for Tom. Tom, I'm not sure if you're the right person to answer the questions, but I was looking at all these drawings for all the buildings that Howard Hughes has developed. One of the questions that comes to mind is sort of the where the delineation lines are between what the city will take care of in terms of sort of the street curb from the curb in. So I haven't seen a real detailed report as far as what goes to the Ward Village Association and what goes to the Buildings Association. Is there any document that explicitly states that or draws out those lines? Because there's beautiful spaces, but I'm just not sure who's paying for the maintenance of it.
I believe there is a Master Association document. I think Kailani would be more able to explain that.
Yes, Member Sakota, we can ask or request Ms. Sodaro to respond to your question at the appropriate time.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Any further witnesses to call?
Yes, if
And any other members have questions? Sorry.
Member Evans. Member Evans? No. Okay. No.
Okay, if not, any further witnesses?
yes, Vice Chair Poe, thank you very much, Mr. Schnell. Vice Chair Poe, Victoria Ward calls Joseph Ferraro.
Morning, members.
Good morning, aloha.
Aloha.
Mr. Ferrara, I understand you've been sworn in as a witness yesterday. For purposes of the record, could you please restate your name place of employment and position.
Hi, my name is Joseph Ferraro. I'm employed at Ferraro Choi and Associates as principal.
Good morning, Mr. Ferraro. We've been discussing the modifications for the Launiu this morning. In your professional opinion, do the modifications provide flexibility and result in a development that is practically and aesthetically superior to that which could be accomplished with the rigid enforcement of the rules?
Thank you. Yes, I believe the increase in the platform height, 65 feet, and the elimination of the one-to-one step platform setback along Alawana Boulevard and Ward Avenue. They both provide significantly more flexibility in the design of the Launiu, which in turn would make the development practically and aesthetically superior to the building designs originally contemplated in the vested rules. In addition, the practical effect of these modifications are that they allow a significant volume of the parking within the platform to be pulled back away from the perimeter of the development, including the adjacent to the development area on the Malka side of the development, created through the realignment of Oahe Street. And furthermore, the modifications therefore result in a more compact platform that provides flexibility to add open space in and around the development. It also provides the flexibility to include residences on the second to the sixth floor of the platform, as well as the ground floor commercial space along Ward Avenue. This will wrap around the corners facing Alawana Boulevard and the former Oahe Street. And this in turn will significantly increase the pedestrian access and the activation in and around the platform. And the modifications result in a building form that will be aesthetically and superior to the structure without these modifications. And so the platform setback modifications also provides flexibility in the design and the results in an aesthetically superior architectural form. The continuous and I'll discuss that, the continuous platform facade along Alawana Boulevard and Ward Avenue results in a better defined and more cohesive building edge along these thoroughfares, instead of that one-to-one stepped approach under the vested rules. And this allows additional flexibility to add more interesting architectural elements to the facade, as well on the corners of the platform. The inclusion of the undulating wave design that you've seen in the pictures, the green wall and the residences that will screen the parking structure, provide pedestrian interest and activation along Alawana Boulevard, Ward Avenue, and the redeveloped area of Oahe Street. They're much more effective if employed along a continuous facade versus the segmented stepped approach as contemplated in the vested rules. Notably, the 75-foot tower setback required by the vested rules along Ward Avenue and Alawana Boulevard will be maintained in this design, thus materially preserving, protecting, and framing these important view corridors. And in my opinion, the development's platform design thoughtfully and effectively implements the concepts originally proposed by the Ward Master Plan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferraro. Let me turn to another area. In your professional opinion, do these modifications adversely affect adjacent development?
In my opinion, they do not. Both the platform height and the platform setback modifications are fully consistent with the Ward Master Plan, and significantly are also consistent with other developments approved and constructed within the Ward Village. Anaha, Ao, Keki'ohana, and the Park Ward Village all have podium height and podium setback modifications. And A'ali'i, Ko'ula, Ulana all have podium height modifications. So therefore, in my professional opinion, granting these modifications will not adversely affect adjacent developments or uses, but instead will ensure that this development is consistent and compatible with the design and the architectural character of other developments within Ward Village and the Malca area. This facilitates a more cohesive, aesthetically pleasing experience for residents and visitors to the Ward Village community.
And in your professional opinion, are these modifications necessary to implement the live, work, and play vision of the Malca area rules and the Ward Master Plan?
Yes, definitely. As demonstrated through other developments of Ward Village and the Malca area, the proposed modifications for Launiu are integral to creating a neighborhood where residential, commercial, and retail uses are incorporated to be mutually beneficial to each other.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferraro. Vice Chair Paul, at this time, Victoria Ward has no further questions for Mr. Ferraro. For purposes of the record, his written testimony is marked as Exhibit 10, and he is available for any questions from the board.
Any questions, members or executive director for the witness?
Madam Vice Chair.
If there are none, oh, Terry Shishi has arrived, joined. Terry Shishi has joined our meeting. Can continue?
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Ferraro. At this time, we'd like to recall Ms. Kailani Sodara to address Member Sakota's question.
Thank you, Kailani Sodaro again. Regarding Member Sakota's questions, yes, that exists. The individual condominium project decks, once established, define or delineate those questions that he had. And for our existing projects, that is all represented in those respective condo decks. The information is available from the master, the Ward Village Owners Association, through the respective AOE role members. They can request that information through the master. And just a recent example of that coming up, we did in our last meeting of 2022 recently walk through that, those lines of questions at our end annual meeting of 2022.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Could I ask one more question? Sorry, while you're there, Kailani?
Certainly.
You know, just looking at the handouts and everything like that, one of my concerns about the podium height is that the relationship to the other buildings, and that we don't get into the sort of like a arms race as to who has the higher podium amenity deck. Is there any issues that we need to be concerned about? Especially, I think the neighboring project is the Kamehameha Schools project, correct? I mean, are we going to get into a point where, you know, at 65 feet, the neighboring amenity deck is only at 45, and we've got different heights of amenity decks looking down and up at each other? Is that a concern going forward?
Member Sakota, maybe I could, sorry, Member Sakota, maybe I asked.
Yeah,
please. Ryan to answer.
Yeah, the member Sakota. You know, the current, and this is also in to answer member Higa's question too, but the current Malca area rules does allow for facade heights of 40 to 65 feet. So, and I think the other portions of the ward master plan does allow for 75 feet. So I think in that case, in this case, and also at Aaliyah, the height is 60 feet. So I think in this case, they're all pretty much at about the same height.
Member Sakura?
You know, my concern was that, you know, I can't remember what we decided on the other Kamehameha Schools projects that's adjacent to this project. But for them to come back and say, well, if my deck's at 45 feet, I need to raise it to 65, such that, you know, you don't have that type of difference in decks, amenity decks looking down and up at each other. So that was just my concern.
Yeah, so again, the Aaliyah, which is next door, that has a podium height of 60 feet. Collection, which was built many years previously, that has a podium deck of 65 feet. So I think, and then I think further down on Alwana Boulevard, Waiea has a deck of 65 feet also. So I think we're all pretty much at that height.
Okay,
The maximum.
Yeah.
all right. Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, Executive Director, any comment?
No, good. Thank you. Thank you, Member Stegler.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sodaro. Vice Chair Paul, I will defer to my co-counsel to call the next witness.
Okay, well, any further questions of the, okay, if not, please proceed, Council.
Thank you, Vice Chair members. Victoria Ward calls as its next witness, Ms. Ashley Langworthy, who's with us remotely via Zoom.
Hi, everyone.
And Ms. Langworthy, I understand that you were sworn under oath yesterday and that you remain under oath today. For purposes of clarity in the record, can you please restate your name, place of employment, and position?
Yes, I'm Ashley Langworthy, Director, Western Region for Biederman Redevelopment Ventures.
And can you remind us, Ms. Langworthy, what does BRV do?
Yes, BRV is a placemaking firm with over 25 years of experience in the art and science of creating, redeveloping, and operating parks, public spaces, neighborhood streetscapes, and the public realms of mixed-use projects across the United States.
And what has BRV been retained to do for this particular project, the Launiu?
Sure. BRV is advising on street level activation and design and modifications requested in connection with the project.
Thank you, Ms. Langworthy. Now, we've been discussing the modifications for this particular project. Can you describe for us, in your professional opinion, how and why the modifications are necessary to advance the Ward Master Plan's vision of ground level pedestrian activation and providing appropriate placemaking and opportunities for pedestrian experiences?
Sure. Based on my experience and focus on urban placemaking, both modifications will allow a podium design that provides the street level and pedestrian community activation. This podium design is integral to the Launiu and desired urban neighborhood, which embraces a walkable neighborhood of mixed-use living, recreation, and green space. The modifications allow additional volume and the bulk of the parking structure to be pulled up and away from the street. This also facilitates the vertical mixing of uses, including residential units in the podium and tower, over 21,000 square feet of ground floor commercial space, and nearly 16,000 square feet of new and public green space. The modification permitting the view corridor setback better defines the edge of the street and allows a more interesting articulation of the building facade, including at the corners and mid-block along both Alwana Boulevard and Ward Avenue. Appendix B of the project application, Exhibit 1 in this proceeding, illustrates inspirational landscaping and public realm programming on each accessible side of the Launiu, made possible primarily through the modifications. The modifications allow ground floor commercial space of the development fronting Ward Avenue and feature wide elevated sidewalks, mature shade trees, and outdoor dining areas. On the Makai side of the Launiu facing Alwana Boulevard, the ground floor will feature prominent steps leading to an elevated pedestrian pathway, extensive landscaping, seating areas, sculptural hardscape elements, facades that screen the podium and parking garage, and a drinking water station. The West Eva end of the podium facing Alwana Boulevard and closest to the adjacent Kamehameha School's own land will feature architectural elements on the facade, such as a green wall. On the Malka side of the development, the commercial area will transition into nearly 16,000 square feet of new publicly accessible green space in the repurposed portion of Oahe Street. This area will feature pedestrian-oriented landscape space and bicycles, shade trees, native plantings, sculptural benches, and other seating, also public art, movable kiosks, and other public realm programming. This active landscaped green space will complement the Keiki Playground and recreational lawn area at Ulana's 30,000 square foot public park, which is under construction less than 150 feet away, and the planned green space Mauka of the recently approved Kalai development.
Thank you, Ms. Langworthy. Victoria Ward has no further questions for this witness, but she is available for questions by the board. And just for purposes of the record, Ms. Langworthy's written testimony relating to the modification has been received into evidence as Exhibit 13.
Thank you. Members, Executive Director, any questions? There be no questions. Council? Further witnesses?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Poe. Victoria Ward calls as its next witness, Mr. Chad Takisui, who is in the room with us today. Good morning, Mr. Takisui. You were placed under oath yesterday, and you understand this morning that you remain under oath, correct? For purposes of the record, can you please restate your name, place of employment, and position?
Chad Takisui, Realtor and Chief Operating Officer at Locations LLC.
And can you remind us, when did you join Locations?
I joined Locations in 2005.
And what has your firm been asked to do for this project, the Launiu?
Victoria Ward Limited requested that we provide an analysis and conclusions regarding the Oahu real estate market with a focus on the demand for market price housing and parking in urban Honolulu and Kaka'ako, and modifications requested in connection with the project.
Thank you, Mr. Takisui. And we've been talking today all about the modifications. Can you describe for us, in your professional opinion, what's your understanding of the modifications?
My understanding is that the modifications to the platform allow additional volume and allow the bulk of the parking structure to be pulled up and away from the street, which in turn allows for mixed uses, including residential units in the podium and tower and over 21,000 square feet of ground floor commercial space and nearly 16,000 square feet of new green space in and near Launiu. Other experts can describe the various benefits of the requested modifications, but from my perspective, Victoria Ward Limited's inclusion of residential homes on levels 2 through 6 of the platform provides material community benefits.
And Mr. Takisui, launching off that point you just mentioned, can you describe for us, how do the residential units provided by the Launiu really provide community benefits?
Well, new condo units in Kaka'ako continues to be a welcome relief, especially given the continuing low inventory of housing. Most of the residential units in the platform will be studio and 1-bedroom units, while the addition of condo units in all configurations within Kaka'ako continues to be a welcome relief, especially given the continuing low inventory of housing. Victoria Ward Limited's inclusion of studio and 1-bedroom units at the Launiu provides flexibility and additional options for buyers across several market segments and contributes to a diverse community. The studio and 1-bedroom units, for example, will be particularly appealing to the new condominium purchasers seeking urban conveniences and community services who would not otherwise consider or live in Kaka'ako. This market segment includes seniors who are seeking to downsize and consider the access to healthcare and service providers in their home buying decisions, as well as the increasing population of young single purchasers who are looking for the first time in Kaka'ako and are seeking smaller, more efficient spaces and flexible housing options. Providing options and opportunities for these and other market segments at the Launiu, made possible through the inclusion of the podium level units, will result in a more diverse buyer demographic and community in Kaka'ako and enhance neighborhood street level awareness within Ward Village.
Thank you, Mr. Takisui. Victoria Ward has no further questions for Mr. Takisui, but he's available now for any questions. And just for purposes of clarity in the record, Mr. Takisui's written testimony relating to the modification has been received into evidence as Exhibit 22.
Thank you. Members, Executive Director, questions?
I have a question, Chair.
Yes, please.
Quick question. I just wanted to know, when you do the analysis of the different market segments that would benefit from the additional units, you mentioned the seniors who want to downsize, and then the young single purchasers who may be wanting those studio or smaller spaces. Are those the two market segments that that constitute the bulk of the demand, or are there other market segments?
There are other market segments, but those are two segments that, based on, our experience selling over 2,000 units in that Ward Village area, that we see to be drawn to those types of units.
Okay, and there's enough demand coming from the seniors and the young single purchasers from your analysis?
Yes, and the other benefit to how this kind of chain reaction alleviates our inventory issues across the board is particularly for the senior segment, when they're, they have this option to downsize. And normally they would be selling their place of residence currently, and that opens up maybe a single family home for a young family that, has different kinds of needs. So we are seeing that movement throughout our markets.
Okay, thank you. That concludes my questions. Thank you.
Any further?
Sorry. So for the record, that was member Sabrina Nasser. Okay. Oh, sorry, Chair.
Yes. Any further questions? Yeah. If not, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I'll go ahead and hand the baton.
Also, all further witnesses.
Vice Chair Poe, at this time, Victoria Ward has no further witnesses or evidence to present at this proceeding. And we request that the evidentiary portion of the hearing be closed.
Okay. Before we leave this part of the meeting, any members or any closing comment on this part of the? Yes,
Sorry, I probably should have raised it earlier, maybe yesterday. On the traffic study or traffic work, they're realigning a street here, Wahi Street. And I guess the record shows that they've been talking to DTS and other parts of the city, EPP probably. Is there intention to dedicate, is that street supposed to be dedicated to the city? Do we know?
I will defer member Hurai to Victoria Ward and maybe request that Ms. Sodaro be recalled.
Yep. Thank you for having me back.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Sidaro. Yes, the swoosh Malka.
Yeah.
So if we orient ourselves and let us know if you'd like to go to aerial exhibit 2. If we are at the intersection of what we know now to be Awahi Street and Ward Avenue. So per the HCDA road master plan, and that of which was effectuated also in our master plan permits to realign. When the Awahi Street moves Malka, it goes to now connect to Pohukaina. So there are two things that happen there. A new road lot that we are in the process with the city currently to go through the subdivision and then dedication to the city for that new intersection. And then if we cross over to Ward Avenue, the Pohukaina Street extension, there's also a subdivision, tentative approval status already approved through DPP for that dedication. And so, yes, that big realignment. There are other area roads that are publicly accessible.
Tell from Kathy Lee's report that you anticipate any hangups there with the city?
It's definitely a lengthy process, but it is articulated, and the city has been working with us with quite a while between DLM, DFM, and DPP to effectuate those subdivision actions so that we can turn those, essentially signalize the intersection is the technical term for the city by 2025.
Okay, no, just, I couldn't tell from the report.
Oh,
whether
where
or
we
not
were.
Yeah, whether or not there was an issue. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other
Member.
questions?
Before moving on to public testimony, any last comments, members, or before we proceed? If not, thank you. We'll now take public testimony from the public. Speakers will be called up to testify in the order in which they have signed up. We have several people signed up. Public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes each. Since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written testimony that you might have provided, please refrain from reading your written testimony and instead summarize your comments in the time that you have available. When you are called, please clearly state your name and any organization that you might be representing. And if you're attending virtually, please unmute your microphone and turn on your video. The first person to sign up is Chris Delaney.
Aloha HCDA board members, Chris Delaney with Pacific Resource Partnership. So Pacific Resource Partnership is in strong support of the applicant's Launiu Ward Village project. Victoria Ward is requesting 2 modifications to the vested rules for the project's podium. First, to increase the project's platform height from 45 to 65 feet. And second, to accommodate a continuous building facade on the platform above 20 feet along Ala Moana Boulevard and Ward Avenue. Both of these requested modifications were originally proposed in the Ward Master Plan, and HCDA has previously approved these modifications for other developments in Ward Village and Kaka'ako, as stated earlier. Both modifications will have benefits to the public and the community. These modifications create more volume in the platform, as discussed earlier, so parking is pulled up away from the street, and there is more space for the vertical mixing of uses throughout the project, including 1 residential units in the podium, consisting of studio and 1-bedroom units to increase buyer options and diversity. 2, nearly 22,000 square foot of commercial space on the ground floor of the platform, and 3, nearly 16,000 square feet of new ground level green space in and near the project. An additional benefit to the modification to the view corridor setback is that it allows a continuous podium facade that provides much more flexibility in design of the podium. The renderings of the building that we saw earlier show that Victoria Ward is using a podium facade to make the project an outstanding part of the community and an interesting wave design and streetscape at the important gateway or entryway of the Kaka'ako area. I also like to add there are no modifications being requested for the project's tower, orientation, or setbacks. So important view corridors will be maintained along Ward Avenue and Ala Moana Boulevard. Furthermore, this project will activate and transform the Kaka'ako community with 468 new homes, ground floor retail, and outdoor gathering spaces along Ward Avenue. Thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker is Andrew Fomsovan. Andrew, you might want to repronounce your last name.
Hi, good morning, Chair and members of HCDA. My name is Andrew Pomsavon of Honolulu Makers Market. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify today. I am in strong support of the Launiu Ward Village. We often collaborate with Ward Village over the years at various community activations and events. Ward Village is a canvas for outdoor pop-up craft businesses like ours and our vendors. The Launiu Ward Village will highlight the best elements of more streetscape and open spaces for the community. This project will create an outdoor plaza on Oahe Street to host more markets and fairs. The project will create nearly 500 homes, public parks, and walkable, bikeable streets, more shoppers, and more residents. Ward Village is advancing important work to develop a neighborhood that makes it possible to connect with one another in public spaces. I ask that you please support the Launiu Ward Village. Ward Village is delivering on its master plan in a thoughtful way that benefits all of Honolulu. Your support for the project will have lasting positive impacts on our community's future. I appreciate your time and consideration to approve this project. Thank you.
Mahalo, Andrew. Our next speaker is Gary Chen.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Gary. I'm the owner of Scratch Kitchen. Sorry, somehow my video cannot work. But anyway, I will continue. I started my business about 4 years ago in Ward Village. I really appreciate Victoria Ward has how they help the small business like us. And also we create I have two businesses in the War Village, and also I have can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. And also my family, I live in War Village. I love the master development. I strongly recommend we support the project because that creates lots of traffic, and we benefit from the traffic and also the residents, return customers locally. So I really appreciate our youth supports, and I know our staff, everybody, highly recommend the project to be success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary, and sure your phone testimony was well heard. Thank you. Our next speaker is Mark Campbell.
Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Thank you for having me. I just want to say I'm born and raised here in Honolulu, grew up in Launiu. I moved away to the mainland for 25 years to work. I'm a retired college coach. I moved back to Hawaii 4 years ago and was very pleased to see all the developments down in Kaka'ako and Ward area. And I recently purchased at Ulana Ward Village, and I plan on moving down there. And I plan on, being a part of that community. And sorry, I'm at the gym right now. But I'm excited for the buildings. I support any building that's going to be built in that area. More shops, more restaurants for me to use and share with other people. I'm very excited for the developments that have been happening and support any future developments.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What's your bench press?
Well, currently it's only about 250. When I was in shape, 400. But I am 54 years old, so it's not that much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Our next next speaker, Kellen Briones. Kellen Briones, am I pronouncing that correctly? I guess we lost him. A call for any?
Yep.
Any further testimony
On Zoom.
on Zoom? There being no further public testimony, I'm going to proceed with closing today's hearings. I thank all of you who came here live to the virtual, and those of you who are out there joining us. It's a really important project, and thank you very much for showing up and testifying. Council, do you have anything to add?
Vice Chair Poe, at this time, Victoria Ward has no further evidence, and we request that the evidentiary portion of the record be closed. On behalf of Victoria Ward Limited, thank you very much to the board and staff for its work and consideration of the project.
Council, now the authority would like to close the record for the hearing unless the council for the applicant is requesting the record be kept open.
Confirming Vice Chair Poe that Victoria Ward requests that the record be closed at this time.
Okay. Yes? Yeah. Okay. Authority will keep the record open to allow, no? We are closed, right? Okay. Thank you, thank you. If there are no further comments or discussion, then on behalf of HCDA authority members and staff, thank you again all for your attendance. Council, you have until the end of the business day on Friday, April 21, 2023, to file the applicant's proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision and order with the authority. This public hearing on the applicant's requested modifications is now adjourned or closed based on whether council would like to keep it open or closed. We've already been there. The decision hearing for this project, Launiu, will be held on Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. I repeat, the decision hearing for this project, Launiu, will be held on Wednesday, June 7th, 2023 at 9 a.m. This hearing is now officially closed. Time is now 10:05. Time is 10:05. Thank you. Oh, next.